Good morning, engineering and manufacturing educators, and welcome to the Educator's Toolbox. Really excited about this episode. I am doing it early this week because I was late last week. Might be 2 episodes this week, but this week's is something near and dear to my heart, something that we stole from other school and we leveraged for our program and to really build on top of that year in and year out. And that's what we called our reverse career fair. Design technology, mechanical engineering technology students, we hosted a reverse career fair. So we'll talk about that a little bit. I also want to talk about something I talked about a couple episodes ago that I realized that I didn't continue to discuss. And that is this thing called simplex process, and a process for how do you better develop your program. Something I was fortunate enough to get trained in when I was at Ivy Tech Community College. And one of the first key things is fact finding. And that's really where the reverse career fair came out of. As we we found one of the biggest issues that we had was getting in contact with our local industry, getting them to look at our students for that student to go to an interview. And that was kind of a hard thing because many of our students were struggling to get to school, to get to class. So to have to go to another job interview off campus at a time that they can't deal with because they're making that time for the class and they've got life and family things that are going on. Or maybe the job is in one area of the city and they live in the other area, and so that commute is just really hard to handle at the time. Also, it was out of that fact finding where we literally listed down all the facts and assumptions and numbers and data without interpretation of it, in terms of without critiquing it, without complaining about it, without saying, no, that ain't true. It was our assumptions and facts. And what we found was is a lot of people had similar assumptions of what things were going on that we narrowed down to really a couple core things that we then took to the next step, which is developing some challenge statements and how might we's and the how. And that's really where it transformed and became the career fair and the reverse career fair. So today I'm going to try something a little different, and that is kind of show some pictures along with talking about it. So the reverse career fair is really just that. Instead of inviting a bunch of industry to a career fair and having them host a booth where students walked around and talked to the industry, we found that there was engagement. We found that it was kind of difficult for a student to go to the industry person, hand them the resume, and say, "I would like to talk to myself about myself and tell you what's on my resume." And that was a really short conversation because they had 40 or 50 people we had to get through. So to really have a deep dive conversation to understand that student, and for that employer then to take that next step to call them in for a interview, they had to remember, they had to go through some things. Maybe they took down some notes, maybe they didn't. They call us back and ask, hey, this one student that was there that had this on their resume, I can't remember who it was, or they told me this story. Do you know who that is? So we found that there was some flaws with that. There's some good things because students get to see what a company is about. That company is showcasing what they do there. But what we found is that engagement and that ability to showcase their skills wasn't there. So as we looked, I believe it was Sinclair Community College out of Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, and a couple other schools across the nation. We started finding this thing called a reverse career fair. And we started seeing it at a really large level, a lot of students being involved. And we really wanted to start small and start within 1 to 2 of our programs. So we chose our design technology program. We chose our mechanical engineering technology program. And as you see in the picture here, and hopefully it comes out well, is literally our students held a booth and the employers walked around. And this is one example of one of the students' booths here. He showcased what he was working on, the certifications he may have, some additional information, a science fair standpoint or kind of setup. We provided them with trifold. We also provided them then with our career development folks that help them organize their thoughts, help them organize their information, help them organize the table, as well as help them with their resume and their elevator pitches and all that fun stuff. So We had some students that were kind of bare minimum. They had a few things that they did. We had students that took high advantage of using our career development office, and we had others that were just normal students, right? They're just trying to get by. They're trying to finish the project and get it done. So we had a few different ones. We kind of practiced our elevator pitches. The lady on the left happened to be our career development person. The gentleman on the right was one of our students. He did a great job of showcasing his skills, but he also knew what companies were going to be there. So he showcased the skills targeted to a certain set of companies that he really wanted to attract and look at and have a deeper conversation with. We had others. This one is quite a bit, but it also shows the depth and the ability for the student to do different things. And this student also had a couple internships and worked off site. So some of those pictures inside of there are actually from designs that he created at the internship and the job that he had before to showcase his skills and ability. And I believe this student wasn't necessarily looking for a new job, but wanted to have an ability to hear what's out there and a conversation with other employers. And we kind of had to have this pushback. He was concerned doing this because he already had a job. We put this in our capstone course at the end of the program. And we kind of pushed him and said, hey, it doesn't hurt to showcase. It doesn't hurt to talk about yourself. Maybe you might find something a little bit better, or maybe you might find something that's out there. But also, you might find some areas that down the road, you don't want to go there now, or you don't want to go down that pathway of that industry or that part, just because of the information that you found. We had some others that one of the challenges that we have, and I know a lot of schools have as well. Check my mic, had an issue with recording earlier, but one of the issues that we have is we have both architectural construction students as well as mechanical students in our courses. So our mix of people was very interesting in terms of the industry that we invited, but we also shared with them is that even though you might be geared toward architectural or geared toward mechanical, you might find yourself on the other side of the aisle there and possibly finding a company that is really looking for a mechanical person to help out in their architectural drawings. Maybe it's the mechanical, electrical, plumbing side of things, or maybe they're using Fusion or Inventor or something like that to parametric model, and they need that kind of person. Or you might find that the architectural person needs to come in and it's a company that is highly manufacturing, but they're doing a lot of build outs. They're setting up the manufacturing floors or setting up the buildings, and they need someone to help with the construction documents to get information back and forth to the builder and that kind of thing. So we had a plethora of people of different areas. As you can see, some of them were very simple, which was great. Again, we set this up as they could showcase anything that they wanted to showcase. Basically, it's their resume right there at the table. Some of them have example projects. Some of them had little portfolio pads that they had with additional information in there. But we went around and helped them with their elevator pitch and the discussion that they're going to have with the employers. This is actually the head of our career and development services. She came and really supported this with us. Another one of our students that had some additional background before he got to college. And I believe he was in the military as well, so showcase some of that. Here's some fun ones. This was a very creative. The student kind of went the next level on here, and I believe even I have some pictures of some pins that she made that she handed out. Had some swag like an industry partner would if they're hosting a career fair. So the students really took this and the ones that were looking for that next step that got excited about it really took it in a direction we didn't expect, which was really fun. So we see a lot more information. Kind of one trifold was about her work and what she did. The other one was really about her and who she was. A sign-in sheet she created on her own. We didn't expect that. We didn't kind of think about that. We really had some just kind of open interpretation of what they could do, and we allowed them to create that. As you see, she had her own pen that she created with her contact information. Again, some other ones, we had students that already graduated, so showcasing that they've graduated, showcasing their work, what they've been able to do, and that kind of stuff. So here's a bigger view of that. These are all industry partners that are talking to the students there. We ask them to dress up appropriately, like it is a job interview. As you can see, the table in the middle, we had a table in the middle. We also had one outside that was a little more intimate by itself of this room. And what this allowed us to do was maybe there was a lull in kind of the conversation, or maybe there was kind of a couple industry people that had got backed up and they wanted to have a deeper conversation with that student. So they would call them over, sit at the table, maybe they go in the table outside and have a little deeper conversation. And what was funny is since I've coached for a long time, is I kind of thought it was like the combine, right? It was like, the GM and the head coach pulling in the prospective athlete, football player coming in saying, hey, no, I want to ask you these things. I want to see how this is, see how you respond to this. And it was really just a quick hitter and ability to have a really good conversation, almost a full interview at times with these students. So really enjoyed that. In the back, we had our industry contacts and information about those industry partners going on the screen. That way, if the student kind of got lost or maybe was trying to remember who someone was, we had that. And it was a good showcase of those industry partners that were showing up. Plus, we had administration coming in. We had the dean, the chair. I believe in the second one, we had the president of the college stop by. So it was good to have that presence there. Um, Again, some great connections. These ladies, I can't remember the company they were for, but they were so passionate from the industry about doing this. They've never done one, and we had them return over and over. And it really kind of started shaping and building the excitement of our employers wanting to come to this versus it being just another career fair where they're trying to find someone to, they gotta get a tablecloth, they gotta get some swag, they gotta get their banner, they gotta get information. They didn't have to do all that. They really just had to show up, have some questions ready, thinking about what they're wanting to hire, and going. The other thing that was interesting with this, and I believe it's these two ladies as well, one of them was the HR hiring person that kind of did all the background stuff and knew what the position was and some general information. The other person was typically the actual boss or the actual manager of that person. And so they would ask a lot of the technical questions. So it was kind of a back and forth of workforce skills, workforce type questions from the HR, and then very technical questions from the direct manager or boss of that job. So again, we taught them small things, shaking hands, smiling, having that good opening talk track and not trying to talk over, really listening at the same time, thinking about the questions that they might ask and practicing those things. So that was our first one, I believe. By the time I left, we had conducted 4 of them and had a really, really high success rate of them. A few things that were kind of interesting outcomes of this was one was we knew that we would have some issues with students that weren't really employable. That we knew that their work wasn't great. We knew that the things that they've talked about with us, they're just not ready to be employable. What we didn't expect out of the outcome of that was, and we kind of prepped the industry and the contacts to say, you can be as blunt as you want or as general as you want with the conversations you have with them. And what we found was there was a good, respectful kind of bluntness to that. Is, some companies would come in and say, hey, you're just not what we're looking for at this time. If you had these skills, or if you really thought about doing it this way or kind of going down this path, we would come back and look at you. Others would say, this is probably not the industry for you, but we might have, you might want to look over here. You might want to look at this. The other outcome that we had from this was we saw that students kind of found out, hey, this is really not something I want to do holistically. There was a couple of students that found out, like, I don't know why I'm doing CAD. I thought I liked it. I learned more about the jobs. I talked to the people about what their responsibilities were, what things would happen while I'm on the job. I just don't want to do that. I want to do something different, or I want to do something maybe associated with it, but not this. We also found others that were on the architectural side, but as they talked to a lot of the mechanical manufacturing industry partners, that were like, oh, I want to do that, and vice versa. We had a few that actually went, you know what? I kind of like this architectural side. There's an ability to get out in the field. There's an ability to do this. So it was really interesting to have those conversations, and we had some great feedback from the industry that provided us a lot of good quality information. But we also found some things that we looked back at our curriculum and said, this is a common thread between all of our students missing this topic, or, the industry said, hey, they're just not, they're not there in the collaboration piece. I wanted to see more collaboration and partner projects across the board. So Jamie and I went back, we kind of decided, where do we fit that in? How do we get that solved into our program? So that way we can solve that. And that was kind of a recurring thing. We always found a nugget. We found something at the end that we could take back to our curriculum and say, this can help us solve getting our students jobs and getting our students out there. I believe in our first year, we had a 85 or 90% placement rate, either part-time, full-time, or internship. The second year, I believe that went up to 90%. And then the third and fourth year, I think we kind of fell back, and that was due to some, that was kind of the timing of the nature of where things were in Indianapolis, and the job market just really kind of shrunk a little bit. But we only had a handful of jobs open at that time versus the number of students that we had. So our placement rate wasn't nearly as high. I think some things to think about as you might implement this or look at implementing this is, one, is start off small. I wouldn't try to go huge. I wouldn't try to go great. I think our class here was about 15 students, and like I said, we had mechanical engineering students in that, so it was anywhere between 15 and 18 students total. I think we had at least one industry partner per student starting out in the first 2 or 3 years. Like I said, that last year, kind of the market shrunk a little bit, so I think we had an industry partner per two students. And that was kind of the math we thought about. We tried to keep them from bringing a litany of people. We wanted them to bring only one or two people, three at the max. That way it's not overpowering the student and really making them even more uncomfortable. And we kind of prep both sides. We prep the industry with, here's what it's going to be, here's the kind of things you might see, here's what we've given them, and the service that we provided to help them along the way. So they had an expectation of what type of things they expect, so they knew what questions to ask. And to be honest with you, is providing a feedback loop was the other big thing. So we kept on getting better. We kept on adding more students as we went, and really saw great success. And we saw excitement from the students. We saw that kind of light at the end of the tunnel with them. And some of the things that we were thinking about before I left and came to where I'm at now is, we were thinking about, do we do this in the fall and spring? Do we do a small one in the fall and a larger one in the spring? Kind of what does that make up? How many students is too big? And we had seen some colleges that were doing it with 50, 60 to 100 students across the board. How much industry buy-in can we get out of this? So we started small and kind of scaling it up and thinking about what's the next thing, and not trying to revamp the entire thing the next year, but adding that one plus. Hey, we're going to do the exact same thing plus this the following year, plus this the following year, and just building it up. So hopefully you can sense the excitement of that one. I love it. It's one of the funnest things. It's one of the biggest enjoyments I had, seeing our students come to life, and those ones that were kind of down the dumps that didn't think they had a pathway out of here or a pathway to a real job. Their eyes light up. The ones that were in a current job going, you know what? Grass ain't greener on the other side. Or, hey, you know what? I think I found a place I want to work. And then all the way to the other side of, hey, I got a job, I got making a living, I'm doing the things that I need to get done here, and really striving and thriving out of that. So, yeah, reverse career fair. We did this through fact finding, where we literally brought in a group of people and kind of listed facts of why our students weren't getting jobs. Was our fuzzy situation. How might we get our students more jobs? And so we listed the facts and really identified some of the key barriers and key things that were happening with that. And how the outcome of that was kind of a how might we get our students in front of the industry quicker, better, and more efficiently. And it led to ultimately creating a reverse career fair after doing some research of other schools. So love to hear how you are promoting your students, getting your students jobs. Is the reverse career fair something that you would like to implement? Are you doing something else that has spurred some ability for students to get jobs and getting the industry in front of them there? Please, anywhere that's posted, YouTube, LinkedIn, social media, wherever you find this, leave some comments. Would love to share with other educators. Right, wrong, or indifferent, doesn't matter. Is you have your way, it's working. I'd love to hear about it. If you have questions, don't hesitate to hit me up either. I'm happy to share that, tentatively meet up with you and share some of our experience as well. So, yeah, reverse career fairs, great having you back. Might be a second episode this week. We'll see how the week goes, but really enjoyed this conversation, and we will see you on the next one. Take care.